Got my notes to read from.
That's always good.
Yeah.
Is this box usually always here?
Box.
That box. Is he usually? Yeah, I think he's always here, huh?
Yeah.
Just seems.
Yep. All right. New ties.
That's awesome, man. That's sharp. It's a sharp looking tie there, sir. All right, so let's get started. Let's get this going. Let's see if we can get everything centered on here. Let's see. Perfect. There you go. Now you get to see all Wes's body.
And the plant. Don't forget about the plant.
And
That's
the plant.
the important thing.
Yes. So before we start, we would like to introduce the newest member to our team. Plant, say hello to everyone. Sorry, the plant's a little shy. So this is his first time on camera, so it's a little camera shy. He'll get used to it. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode 12 of the Kier and Wesley Show. I am your host, Kier, realtor and author of the Blueprint to Successfully Selling Your Home. Along with me, my co-host, my business partner, my lender, Mr. Moneyman himself, and Axial Home Loan Sales Manager, Mr. Wesley Oliver. How are you doing today, sir?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, man, telling you, what has been going on with these interest rates, man?
They're kind of all over the place. There's a lot of instability out there in the market.
Yeah.
We had talks of, we were going to initiate tariffs. That was, what President Trump said.
Mm-hmm.
And now China's supposedly going to be, issuing tariffs against us, which, has had a adverse impact on the stock market the last few days.
Yes.
Rates are, swinging back and forth. Just a lot of volatility because a lot of questions. Nobody knows where we're going or how we're getting there.
Oh, wow. Okay. Volatility. Okay, I see.
Yep.
I see.
Absolutely.
So you did speak on what our topic's going to be about interest rates. So if you guys saw the title, it's Mortgage Myth Busters. Does high interest rates result in lower sales prices?
Right.
And that's going to be the topic today because I'm sure a lot of people probably believe one thing, and now we're going to explain another. So I'm sure you're probably going to blow some people's brains today when you explain, that myth or bust that myth, so to speak.
Yeah, because it's always been kind of a feeling, you hear people talk about this all the time, potential buyers.
Right.
Once, you kind of see interest rates trending upwards, like, oh, I'm going to wait, because now the rates are going up.
Right, exactly.
Home prices are going to go down.
Correct.
So I'm just going to wait a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And actually, you hear a lot of realtors say that.
And, that's funny you say that because I do actually hear a lot of realtors say that. It's like, well, if interest rates go up, then prices go down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because people relate that to, supply and demand.
Right.
There's more supply, the demand will go less.
Mm-hmm.
If there's less supply, demand will go up. You know what I mean? So people kind of treat that as hand in hand. But there are other factors that, that can cause interest rates to sales prices to go up and down. But, you'll explain a little more about that.
Yeah, and actually the supply versus demand, that is actually one of the bigger determinations as far as what home prices are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that people tend to think the other way is not so much because supply and demand, they're thinking affordability. That's mostly what they're considering. So for those of you who don't know, if you were to go back and look at a chart
right.
of, interest rates, say over the last, starting with, let's say 1980, right?
Right.
So you would see a point in time in the 80s, and a lot of the older people who may be watching this maybe remember this.
Yeah.
There was a point in time when interest rates were in the double digits. So we're talking about 10, 11, got as high as 19% at one point, right? So if you can imagine what your mortgage payment would look like, say on an average, I believe the average sales price in Orange County is somewhere around the neighborhood of like $700,000.
Yes, very accurate.
Give or take a couple thousand.
Yes.
So if you can imagine what your payment would look like with a 19% interest rate,
woo,
it would probably be close to like $10,000 a month.
Right, yeah.
So at that point, the market for people who would be able to even afford to buy would shrink significantly.
Exactly.
So in the 80s when that happened, one of the reasons we could have interest rates like that is because prices of homes were like 150, 170,000.
Right.
So it was still affordable.
And not to mention, you also had living wages that could account for those prices as well, too.
Right. And you also had, back then, you kind of had wage growth that was closer to the increase in the cost of living.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen that way today, unfortunately.
Right. Yes.
So a lot of people think that, well, if rates go up to, say, 5%, right?
Right.
Across the board, that's our new floor.
Okay.
Well, then the amount of people that could even afford your house is going to shrink. So you as the homeowner, what you're going to do is you're going to decide, hey, if I want to sell this house, I'm going to have to lower the price,
right,
so that people who would want to buy the house can afford the house. And that's why people tend to think that, there's a direct correlation between where interest rates are compared to sales prices.
Correct.
But in reality, what you were saying earlier, the supply and demand dynamic is more of an indication of where sales prices are going and what's going to happen with the sales prices.
Correct.
Because more than likely what's going to happen, one of the things people don't consider, if you're selling a house right now, then what are you going to do after you sell that house more than likely?
You're going to buy another house.
Right. So if you have a house right now that you could sell and you're currently paying, say, 3.5% interest on that particular loan,
right,
because you refinanced it, say, 5 years ago, and now if you want to get back into the market, the next property you're going to buy, you're going to have to finance at 5%, right? What might you do in that particular case? You might decide, you know what? I'm just going to stick with what I have right now. You know what I mean? I don't have a real urgent reason to move right now.
Right.
I like the payment I have. It's an all-time low interest rate. I'm just going to stick it out. So what that ends up doing is it decreases the actual supply available in the market.
Well, right, because people are deciding to stay in their homes instead of selling them.
Right. So that decreases the supply, but the demand is still there.
Right.
Right. So if you still have, say 1,000 people that want to buy a home.
Correct.
And they're perfectly fine with buying a home under the current interest rates, but you only have 100 people that are willing to sell the home.
Yes.
Right. And that becomes your standard bearer for, common economics. So that is going to have a bigger indication as far as what sales prices are going to do than just, say, interest rates going up and people saying, you know what, I can't afford to buy now because the interest rates went up. Because they're, fortunately, I guess, for some people, there are always going to be people in the market, especially in places like Orange County.
Well, yeah, you typically see that. The most desirable areas are always going to have activity. Right. And not to mention, us being on the West Coast, we don't really deal with snow and all these other weather conditions that could, limit a person's ability to either go out to look at houses or people to put their houses on the market. Right. We don't have those issues. You know what I mean? Like, you can still see high sales happening in the winter season here, as opposed to on the East Coast where it can really slow down just because of the weather conditions. Right. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are trekking through the snow to go look at buying or selling houses if they don't really need to. Right. If they can wait, hey, you know what? Let's wait until this stuff that comes out of the sky called snow dries up, and we'll just wait until the spring. Or even sellers, they're thinking too, it's like, hey, we'll wait until the spring to put our house on the market. Right. But there's just always, this is an affluent part of the country. Yes. You know that. So you're always going to just have people that can afford under those conditions that are going to be looking for a house. Right. I don't know if anybody's looked at what it costs to purchase something in San Francisco lately, but somehow, homes still get on the market and homes still get purchased. They're still purchased. So just to really tie it in together, and this is something directly from Freddie Mac. They have a national sales price or home price index, and this is how they put it. The Freddie Mac National House Price Index is unresponsive to movements in interest rates. In the current housing market, the driving force behind the increase in prices is a low supply of both new and existing homes, combined with historically low rates. As mortgage rates increase, the demand for home purchases will likely remain strong relative to constrained supply and continue to put upward pressure on home prices. So essentially what they're saying is that the low supply, is going to continue to put
pressure on the prices going upward. Like there's not going to be such a reduction in, new home buyers,
right,
to where the supply is not going to be in a situation where there's still a shortage.
Correct.
So even if you were to take, like, let's say 20% of the people who are in the market for buying a home right now decide, you know what, I'm not going to buy a home.
Right.
Well, there's still not enough homes.
Right, exactly. Right.
For the 80% that are still going to be looking. So guess what's going to happen with sales prices? They're going to continue to go up.
Right, because the supply hasn't reached near where the demand is.
Right.
That's the issue. Mm-hmm.
And essentially what they're saying as well, with the historically low interest rates, even in the earlier example, when I said if rates went up to 5%, if you guys were to go look at that chart, the historical chart, like I advised, starting with 1980,
right,
you'll see that 5%, although it's higher than what we've seen in recent memory, it's still historically low. I purchased 2 properties between 2001 and 2008. Neither one of those had an interest rate below 6 3/4. So now we're talking about 5%. So if you think 5% is enough for everybody to just go home and wrap it up and say, never mind, we're not buying right now.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So,
yeah.
So just be aware of that. If you're waiting for this magical event to happen, where all the sellers wake up one day and say, you know what, rates are at 5%.
Let's slash our prices.
Yeah, let's knock off 30% of our asking price to keep up with the interest rates. Because one thing you have to understand, a home is still a commodity, right? Mm-hmm. And you know this better than anybody dealing with sellers. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, they think their home is worth more than every other house on the block.
No, exactly, for sure.
So they're not going to cheat themselves.
Exactly, right.
They're like, no, my house, this is my baby. My house is worth more than every other house out there. Like, you should pay me more than what the market is. Because my house is just that great. I took care of it.
Right, my house is special. It's not like everybody else's. So what if everyone else's house is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,700 square feet, just like mine? But mine is special. Right,
because I took care of my home like nobody took care of their home.
Right.
I had the maid in here every week, and they were, doing a deep cleaning.
Yeah.
And, I went out and I planted a garden and I pruned everything. And
I have a better view, even though everyone on this side also has a view, but mine happens to be better because I can see a little more of the snow caps. Yeah.
Right. And as well as anybody out there, you're not going to, cut yourself short. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
And then also, it just has to make sense for you as well if you're the person selling that home, because more than likely you're going to have to pay off a current loan. Mm-hmm. And then if you're planning to move, or planning to buy again, let me say, you need to have enough to cover whatever down payment, whatever costs are going to be associated with the new mortgage, right? Mm-hmm. And the moving and all that. So at some point, if you lower your price too much, it becomes counterproductive and it just doesn't even make financial sense.
Correct.
So if you're, like I said, if you're holding out and, hey, let's just hold steady right now, let's just wait it out, because interest rates are going to continue to go up, so prices are going to go down. Here's what's really going to happen. You're just going to lose a bunch of buying power because the sales prices are going to continue to tick up, as well as the interest rates. So now you're trying to buy, but your income's probably not going to go up at the same rate.
Unfortunately. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're limited by your income. So what's going to happen is you're going to have the same amount of income. And now you're going to be trying to finance a higher, basically the same mortgage payment and trying to buy, less house with it.
Right.
Right. Because as the sales prices go up, if you only qualify for, say, a $450,000 property, well, right now, a $450,000 property in Orange County might be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, condo or something like that, depending on what area you're in. But if you wait a couple of years, that same $450,000 might only be like a 1-bedroom. You just never know with the market.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially being in Orange County.
Right.
Yes.
Or maybe you don't even qualify for $450,000 anymore because the interest rates have gone up, right? But your income hasn't.
Right.
So now instead of qualifying for $450,000, now you only qualify, say, for $400,000, maybe $375,000. So now what does that look like in this market? Or what does it look like in the market a year from now after the prices have gone up 5 to 7% again?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it always goes back to, what I learned early on in the business is you don't wait to buy. You buy and you wait. I mean, something that's been instilled with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't, when you're a buyer, you can't time the market.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Right.
And, the reasons that you brought up, the fact that interest rates will continue to rise, prices are going to continue to rise because we're not seeing any type of slowdown, and if you're qualified for this amount, interest rates go up, home prices go up, what happens is it shrinks your buying power.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So then your pool of eligible homes starts to diminish, starts to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then sometimes you get priced out of the market. It's like, hey, you know what? I can't even afford Orange County anymore. I have to go to maybe the Empire or Corona. I have to go to LA or any other place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But when it comes to a seller has a better opportunity to time the market.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because most of the time sellers want to get the most money for their house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can totally time the market, a lot better than what a buyer can.
Right. And then it gets more challenging because now that your buying power is shrinking, you're now looking in a price range that is the most popular price range.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's probably going to be more people looking at homes that are priced, say, at $350,000.
Correct.
Than there are people looking at homes priced at $750,000.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's probably just more people who can afford a home that's priced at $350,000 in this market than there are people who can afford a home priced at $750,000.
Right.
And like I said, there's always a cost of waiting.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a couple of years ago, I'd helped, I think it was like 2000. This was about 2015.
Okay.
So I'd helped a young woman. She was maybe a couple of years out of college, just starting her career and whatnot. So I helped her use one of those programs, those down payment assistance programs.
Mm-hmm.
Helped her buy a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo. I think it was like maybe 850 square feet
mm-hmm.
in the city of Orange, right? She was able to purchase that for somewhere in the neighborhood of like $240,000.
Wow.
Her mortgage payment altogether with the HOA turned out to be something like $1,650, maybe $1,700 a month. Anyway, now today I have another woman I was working with, and
mm-hmm.
we went through the pre-approval process.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, based on your income and all the other factors, you're going to qualify for a purchase price of about $250,000. She said, I'm not going to find anything like that in this market. And she's probably right. I wish I could have caught her 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's definitely difficult, but I mean, that's just an example of the cost of waiting.
Yeah. And being priced out of the market.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally be priced out of the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another tragic tale.
Oh, man. Jeez. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Yini, so you're typing the info that we're speaking. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, she said that she's doing it at work, so it looks like she's working because she's been typing stuff. Like, that's smart. That's smart. I like that. That's right. That's great.
Get reprimanded for us.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Hello, everyone on Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in as well. Yeah, man. Jeez. I mean, wow. So, I mean, like you said, so pretty much interest rates doesn't really determine solely on the position of if prices can go up or down.
Right. It's not the biggest determining factor. Like I said, I mean,
mm-hmm.
obviously, if we got to a point where, like I said, like we saw in the 80s, where
you're talking about double digits. Correct.
Then you might see some impact there. But
of course, because, I mean, that would totally affect the affordability of everyone. I mean, you know what I mean? Unless you buy cash, then it doesn't matter what the interest rate is.
But like they said, at the same point,
mm-hmm.
it's not just going to affect people who would be buying the homes; it's going to affect the people who would be selling them.
Correct.
Right? Because if I have a 3.5% interest rate right now on my current home loan, and rates overnight go to 10%,
why the heck would you exactly? Right. So, unless you absolutely need to sell, then it's not like, hey, I have to sell this house. I'm going to have to take this.
So not only is that going to shrink the pool of buyers, it's also going to shrink the pool of sellers.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, and I think that, we've had this conversation before, I think that's one of the reasons why there's a shortage of people who are trying to sell their homes now. Because if you talk about, where the bottom of the market was, lowest interest rates we've ever seen, right? So you could get, at that point, a 30-year fixed. The lowest I've seen it was 3.125% on a 30-year fixed, right? And this is right around, I'm going to say, tail into 2012, going into 2013. So if you were that current homeowner that refinanced into that rate,
right?
So this is 2013. Now you've been paying on that mortgage for the last 5-6 years, maybe.
Right.
So now, if you choose to sell the current property you have, and you're going to finance a new property,
right?
Now you're leaving that 3.125% rate, and let's say it's not even that low. Let's say it's 3.5%. Well, where the market is right now, the market's over 4%, right?
Right.
So you have to decide, I'm going to give up that particular rate on a home that I've paid on for the last, and it might even be longer than 5 years, because if they refinanced,
correct,
they've had it longer than that.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So they might potentially have that home, a third of that home paid off already. So now I'm going to sell this one, give up this interest rate to start all over again,
right,
on an interest rate that's at least a point higher than what I was paying before. And that right there is why I think you're seeing, a reduction, in some parts as far as sellers in the market. Because that makes 100% sense. I mean, I've talked to homeowners that are literally like, I'm not giving up this interest rate. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The only way I'm leaving this house is in a box.
Oh, that's the excuse I get when I'm out there talking to people. What are you talking about? I'm going out feet first. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably hear that.
Yeah, so you have a lot of people that are like, man, I got to keep the house because I got to keep the rate.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah.
So obviously we understand that's kind of what is driving the market right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your prediction? How long do you think we're going to keep this going on? Do you see 2 more years, 3 more years, 5 more years, more years?
Well, I'll tell you what the economists have said.
Okay.
Many of the economists, obviously not all,
right?
Because they're not a conglomerate, they all have their own opinions. But many of them see this, continuing on for at least the next 3 to 5 years.
No.
And of course, the funny thing about it is, and this is the thing about predictions, and why you can make them all you want, but they are always outside factors or unknown factors that you couldn't see coming, that that are kind of curveballs that can change things.
Right.
So, like I said, last year no one was thinking we might potentially end up in a trade war, but we might.
Right.
So there are always those types of things that can kind of turn the tide or change something significantly. God forbid a new war. We all know how that can impact things. And but yes, just based on all things being equal and no unknown boogeyman that no one's even thinking about or expecting.
Right.
That's what's expected to happen. This is going to continue to happen because, as we discussed, there's just a continuance of, people entering the market without the supply there to greet them.
Right.
Right. So it just continues to put, prices on upward prices on sales. Where you might see a little bit of a change probably is you're probably going to have, of course, less people refinancing.
Right.
Right. Just because it's not going to make sense for some people, just because, as we discussed, rates were much lower, a few years ago than they are right now. So those people, you're going to have a reduction in refinances. You're still going to have people who will refinance because they need the money, they need to take cash out or something like that.
Right.
Or maybe they were at an adjustable rate, they want to get to a fixed rate, or maybe they had maybe they had a first and a second,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to combine that, pay out the second or whatever.
Okay.
So you'll still have those, but
Right.
it's not going to be nearly the same amount of numbers that we've seen,
Mm-hmm.
in the last few years. And I'm sure our title and escrow friends out there can attest to that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm hearing that, like, yeah, man, I'm losing all my refi business.
Yeah.
The numbers have gone down.
Well, yeah, because like you said, I mean, if you're already at a low interest rate, I mean, now you either kind of riding the wave up, or it's not going to make a significant difference.
Right. Yeah, so I don't see it turning around anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is this, and this is my advice
Mm-hmm.
for everyone, rather than trying to be, a financial clairvoyant, just figure out what your goals are and set them in motion. Because you were talking about people trying to beat the market and get
Right,
something
exactly.
and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That usually doesn't work, right?
Right.
And here's reality, because I know one thing that is the talk of the town right now is the whole Bitcoin thing, right?
Right.
And now you got people, man, I knew I should have got in there and I didn't. And you have people jumping in the market now on it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the reality. The people because you hear all these stories about, yeah, this guy only invested $500 in Bitcoin and now he's a millionaire.
Right. He just bought a house he just bought $1 million property with Bitcoin.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the reality.
Yeah.
They didn't know any more than you did. I mean, sure, they might have had, statistical data, or, they might have had information from people in that particular industry that they said, hey, this is where we think we're going. But the reality is this. None of them knew.
Right. I mean, it wasn't hard facts.
It never is.
It was just more of just where it could go,
right?
Where it projected to go,
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. So I mean, everyone took a gamble on that.
That's all
sure.
they did. But
Mm-hmm.
they might have taken. Some people might have taken a blind risk. Others took a calculated risk. But the point is,
mm-hmm.
they had an idea of what they wanted to do financially.
Mm-hmm.
They took the risk, however
mm-hmm.
it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular case, the risk paid off.
Right.
Right? The risk paid off. So rather than trying to, like I said, just kind of be the psychic
mm-hmm.
that knows exactly where everything's going, I'm going to time it perfectly.
Yeah, yeah.
You're probably not going to do that. So you just need to make a determination on what you want to do as far as your living situation, your finances. And
mm-hmm.
if you think you're ready to tackle the responsibility of being a homeowner, then just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to, I want to walk you guys down the path, the end game for if you wait, right? Because usually people are worried about two things. They're either worried about A, what if I buy today?
Right. And
rates get way lower, and now I'm stuck with a higher rate. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, what if I buy today and property values go down a year from now? I could have got it in a cheaper rate.
Right. I mean, 'cause a lot of people I still talk to, I mean, they still think that, that the recession is coming and the home prices are going to go down so substantially. So a lot of them are thinking like, well, here, if I buy now, and then the home prices go down, then all of a sudden I'm going to be underwater or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a lot of them are thinking more like, okay, like what happened in 2007, 2008
mm-hmm.
is going to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. But the thing what happened in, during that time, that was an anomaly.
Right.
You know what I mean? That wasn't a standard recession. You know what I mean? That was
the Great Recession.
Exactly. Something that doesn't happen on a singular level.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like these people, you definitely have to educate them and let them understand that that's not going to happen. You're not going to miraculously, the next recession, all of a sudden the house that was worth 700 is going to be worth like 400 now. And it's like, now I can wait. Now I waited. Now I bought. Now I can go and buy that house because I waited, 3 or 4 years to buy a house. Now all of a sudden I'm saving myself $400,000. We're not going to see that. I mean, we're not going to see it like that. Yeah,
because certainly you need to pay attention to what's going on in your own backyard, right? Right. Especially in regards to the economy, the local economy specifically, right? So look around you. You have all this new construction that's being built.
Correct.
Right? And continuing to be built.
Correct.
Those things aren't being built by robots yet. Those are still human beings that have to do all that work, contractors and all that. And that just creates for those of you who don't know, I mean, if one home is bought and sold, that usually they say that generates somewhere in the neighborhood of like 45,000, in revenue for the local economy. So you have all these new homes being built, and you got to pay people to build them, and that's given a lot of work to contractors of all types. You've got a new stadium being built in Inglewood.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this new railway they're building that's supposed to go from Santa Ana to Garden Grove.
Mm-hmm.
That's all jobs.
Right, exactly.
And then you have, I believe they're remodeling the Anaheim Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, that's all jobs. So you have all these jobs being created within the local economy. And those are all pretty good paying jobs as well.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have people, you're going to have an influx of people who want to be homeowners
mm-hmm.
that are going to be buying these properties. So I don't see that in particular slowing down anytime soon. I mean, all these
mm-hmm.
projects are going to take at least a couple of years, if not more. Oh, and then you have the expansion of Disneyland. I think that's almost done, but
yeah, it's supposed to be done like in the summer or something. Right?
Yeah, you had Star Wars Land, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just built. So I don't see that. And then you have new, commerce being created by new technology and things like that. So I don't. And of course, it's all cyclical, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, how far are we going to fall? Because that was the thing. The Great Depression, because it was an anomaly, and there were so many things leading to it,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of what was made back then was based on things that were not real,
right?
Mostly imagined. So
correct.
Yeah, we fell pretty far from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But again, we turned it around. Looking at it, we turned it around pretty quick too.
Exactly, we did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. Like I said, it has to be more about what you want to do and what's right for you. And like I said, I understand trying to time everything, but when we talk about the two things that people usually fear. So let's say you buy a home today, you finance a home, your rate is at 5%.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you look up a year from now, rates are back down to 4%. Well, you get to refinance. You can take advantage of that 4%. That's how the people who have the 3.125 and the 3.5% today,
mm-hmm.
that's why they have them, because they refinanced, not because that's where the market was when they purchased.
Right.
If the home prices go down, say a year from now, which over the course of time of you owning a home, that could happen several times over. You could have a home that's got $100,000 in equity in it today.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A year from now, it might only be $75,000. A year after that, it might be $125,000. So again, as I always remind people, it's like owning the stock.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sell it till it makes financial sense for you. So if you feel in your heart of hearts,
mm-hmm.
When I sell this place, I don't want to walk away with less than $100,000 in my pocket.
Right.
Great.
At least you have a goal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
Wait for home prices to mirror what your expectations are,
mm-hmm.
then sell it. And that could be 3 years from now, it could be 5 years from now. But the point is, as long as you can afford your payment, as long as you like the neighborhood and you like your house, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Right? So those the two biggest fears you have, like I said, there's remedies for those. And I know you're thinking, well, if I buy it for $500,000 today and a month, a year from now, it's selling for $400,000, then I lost $100,000. Well, maybe not, because maybe you buy it at $400,000, but it's not worth $500,000 for another 10 years, but you sell it before that point.
Well, exactly, because typically most people when they purchase a house, they usually do a 30-year fix.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So maybe the first 5 years, it goes up. The value of your house goes down, but maybe the next 5 years it goes up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, typically, if you are going to be in a house, let's say, they say about 15 years or longer, typically you're going to have equity in your house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're going to have equity. You're going to be a positive.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, even though you look at it, the first few years, like, oh my gosh, the value went down, whatever. If you're going to be in there for at least 15 years, you're definitely going to have equity in your house. So you're definitely going to see a positive growth. Right.
Because, just keep in mind that usually, you're just investing in a home.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to be the next great real estate developer. That's a different conversation. We can have that conversation too if you decide to invest in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're renting right now, I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. You know, like I said, if you're not ready for the responsibility of home ownership, that's one thing. But if you're currently a renter, and rents aren't cheap, not in Orange County,
right?
You might be paying close to a mortgage now,
and some places even more.
Right. And honestly speaking, you are paying a mortgage right now. You're just not paying mortgage that on something you own. You're paying somebody else's mortgage. So they get all the benefit from the equity and, you know, potential tax write-offs and all that. So if you're already currently renting, you know, I mean, geez, if you look at the numbers, if you're paying $2,000 a month right now in rent, geez, that's $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
In 4 years, you're going to pay almost $100,000. $100,000 that you could be using to build equity on your own property, and simultaneously taking advantage of the appreciation in home values.
Yeah.
Just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I like how you break these down to layman's terms so everyone can explain it.
You know, I mean, hey, unless you just love the rental life, you know, there's nothing wrong with that either. Some people like the flexibility it provides, and you know, I get to move and, you know, try a different neighborhood every year and meet new people every year.
Right,
have
exactly.
new neighbors every year. Some people like that.
Yeah.
You know, but if the only reason, you know, you're still renting is because you want to, you know, you want to be in the seat of Warren Buffett and just trying to figure out step by step when's exactly the right time to get into the housing market. The right time is the time you're ready to do it.
Right. I mean, it's funny you bring up the example of Warren Buffett, because I mean, Warren Buffett, I mean, he just bought and invested in companies and really didn't do much after that.
Right.
You know what I mean? He just bought and held and watched it grow. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't really like timing the market. It was just more of like, because I actually watched a biography he had on HBO. Did you ever see it?
I don't think I did.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Like it was awesome because the start of the movie, he goes to McDonald's, right? And he has like 3 options, like depending on, like he'll take like $3 and I mean like 47 cents in his pocket, right? So he'll have 3 options of things he can order, just depending on it. So it was pretty cool, like, you know, how he does his thing. You know, like, okay, like today if I order this, it'll be $3.14. Okay, if I order this, it'll be $3.24, but I can't go over $3.47.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool. And the thing is, when you watch his biography and he talks about, you know, his investing and things like that, you know, a lot of the companies that he invested in, he invested in the companies that he could afford to invest in and left it alone.
Right.
And just watched it grow. Like he wasn't looking to, you know, like move his money here and there and stuff like that. His thing was like, put the money in there. And the thing he talks about in this documentary also, he talks about compound interest. That's huge. That's huge. And he talks about that, like, you know, the compound interest, how things just started to grow, started to compound. So, I mean, that's part of the documentary. You know, in fact, I'm probably going to watch it again, maybe sometime this weekend. I definitely enjoyed it a lot and definitely learned a lot from it. I mean, if any of you guys, you know, are thinking about investing in stocks and things like that, I definitely recommend for you guys to watch that or read, you know, one of his books as well. I mean, there's always a wealth of knowledge, and me and Wes are actually both, you know, we both love business development. We both read a lot of books. We discuss the books that we read. I mean, I read some of the same books more than once because I usually get a nugget out of it. You know what I mean?
Read more than once.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I do. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, it's funny though because my wife was like, did you already read that? I was like, yes, but, you know, I'm reading again just because I always pick up something new out of it. You know what I mean? So, and if you enjoy reading, they're like, why not? It's just like the little nugget just kind of like makes your mind explode. It's like, oh, shoot.
Right.
Oh, damn, I totally should be doing that. It's like, why didn't I see that before? You know, it's like chapter 7. Like, oh, geez, of course that totally makes sense. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You saying that. It reminded me of, you know, old Seinfeld episode where, you know, Seinfeld's like, why do people keep books? You know, like, are you going to read Moby Dick a second time? It's going to be a different outcome. But again, exactly for that point that, you know, you forget those things. After you've read them and you see something different every time. And, you know, you can pull something different from it. It's like I said, it's good to just reconnect with that knowledge again. So, yeah, I would definitely say that.
Yeah, and I think the more you read, too, and the older you get, your perspectives change as well. You know what I mean? So when you read the first time, maybe your perspective is just like, oh, like, let me just get to this book.
Right.
Let me just get this rich to know that I'm reading. I'm intelligent, so people don't think, whatever. And all of a sudden, you read it again, and it's like, hey, chapter 2. Okay. I didn't see this before because I was just kind of just glossing over it. And then the third time you read it, all of a sudden it's like, you become a master, and then you start practicing the things that you're actually reading. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I've noticed that. I mean, I've like Think and Grow Rich, for instance. Like the first time I read it, it was more like, okay, cool, motivational stories. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the second time you read it, I was reading it's more of like inspiring me, to just stay consistent, to stay, chasing my dreams, having positive thoughts and affirmations, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Then also, reading, like Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect. Mm-hmm. Just reading that more than once. And I mean, I could send you guys a whole list. I mean,
right.
You guys would message myself or Wes. We definitely send you a whole list of business books that we read. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, just kind of figure out where you want your, whatever picture you want your life to look like, especially as it relates to lifestyle.
Exactly.
Your living situation. And financially as well. I mean, like I said, you can't understate, the financial opportunities that can be created through homeownership. So once you kind of figure that out, then it's just up to you to go out, and find a way to get it done and to do it. Like I said, because the other side of the equation, if you're waiting because you're afraid you're going to miss out, how are you going to feel if rates shoot to 6%?
Right.
Yeah. You're like waiting for them to go back down and they go even higher. Mm-hmm. Or same thing with sales prices. You're like trying to time it and wait it out, and now the house that you saw that you love for $500,000, is now on market for $600,000.
Right.
Right. So always a good time. Always a good time if you're ready for that responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And you need to not be afraid to invest in the stock market. There are certain strategies that you can implement that you can be more conservative as opposed to being aggressive. And the fact that you're young, I mean, probably be better for you to probably be more conservative anyway, as opposed to, trying to make quick dollars. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there are ways to invest in the stock market where you're actually more conservative. So. And
I would suggest, especially when in relation to the stock market, if you're going to invest, I would suggest that you're working with, even though I think the E-Trade thing is cool, looks fun, but I would suggest that you hire someone that's professional. Right. You know what I mean? A financial advisor, something like that, to help you make those decisions, and here's why. So when people ask me, where do I think interest rates are going to go? Well, I've talked about the inverse relationship between the stock market and the bond market, which largely determines what interest rates are going to be. So the part that is hard for me to try to guess where the market is going, and that makes it hard on everybody, right, is that, you have a lot of people in the market that are managing, their own investments. And a lot of the way they manage those investments, it's emotionally driven. Yeah, that's hard. Right? Like if you talk to financial advisors, they'll tell you all the time about how if something bad happens or some story breaks or the market's down or something like that, their phones blow up. Right. And everybody's like, move my money over here, move it there, take it out, cash it out. You know what I'm saying? And they're being driven. They're making decisions emotionally. Right. And what I mean by that is they're just reacting to the fear of losing money and whatnot. So it's always better to have someone that is not emotionally attached to the money. Correct. That's going to help you make those decisions. Yes. Right? Because like I said, because it'll happen. There's a million stories. I had, 100 shares of Apple. And Apple tanked one day, so I got scared. I sold them all because I didn't want to lose any more money. And then 2 weeks later, the price of Apple was like $20 higher than when I had it. Right? So have someone that's not emotionally attached to the investment help you make those decisions, because they're going to be making those decisions. If you get a good financial advisor, they're going to be making those decisions on sound reasoning, not just overreacting to what is a bad day in the market. Yeah, for sure. And always remember, when it comes to investing,
in stocks and mutual funds and so forth, these are long-term investments for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not 1 to 3 year investments that you're making.
Right.
This is on the long term. You know what I mean? So normally they usually send you what's called a prospectus, usually once a year, and it kind of shows you, what has occurred in that year. But like I said, remember, these are long-term investments. Most of the time when someone sets up for stocks, mutual funds, and 401ks and so forth, this is usually for your retirement.
Right.
And if you're not planning to retire in the next 1 to 3 or 5 years, don't look at it. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Especially if you're young, too. I mean, you still have time. So when it comes to investing, long-term, it's a long-term game. It's a long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an overnight, let me put $10,000 here. All of a sudden, in 5 years, I'm going to have $500,000. That's not the strategy. That's not the strategy. It takes time. And the good thing, you know what? I think what Wes and I are going to do in probably the next few weeks, we're actually going to have a financial advisor on our show, because I do think that, saving for retirement and investing is definitely a strategy that everyone can utilize, whether you're investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever. And also if you want to invest in real estate too, it's always nice to diversify your portfolio. So like I said, probably in the next few weeks, we'll definitely have a financial advisor here to provide, the information and what they do to help people in terms of saving for retirement. And also maybe, saving for retirement, maybe even using that money to purchase investment properties and so forth. But like I said, it's a long strategy game. It's not a short strategy. And going with a professional, like Wes said, that's not emotionally involved,
right,
and don't manage your own stuff. You know what I mean? Like even if you read a bunch of financial advising books, like I said, that's great, but like don't manage your own stuff, because chances are, I would say probably over 90% of the people are still going to be reacting emotionally.
Right.
It's very hard for you to be rational about things like that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it in the context of, they have a saying in Vegas, nobody beats the house. Well, why do you think that is?
Yes.
Because you're out there, you're gambling, and usually what ends up happening is you lose $100 and you spend $500 trying to get back the original 100 you have.
Right, exactly.
Right? That's kind of how that's how they get you. That's how the game works, because you're emotionally attached to that money. You hate losing that money.
Right.
So once you do, you stay there and you try to win. You just want to leave a winner.
Right.
You just want to leave a winner. And that's the question everyone asks you when you come back to Vegas and they know you gamble a little bit. So, did you win anything? Yeah, I won $20. They don't tell you it's been 600 and win 20, but
oh, jeez.
That's just kind of how it is. Like, that's just kind of how it is.
Yes, for sure.
You gotta win. You gotta leave a winner, and that's why I don't gamble personally. Because I hate losing when I have no control over whether I win or lose.
That's the big thing. You totally don't have control over you winning or losing, for sure.
No. So yeah, definitely you have to consider that you're not going to be playing the stock market like the lottery. That's what most people do, because you always hear those great stories. Oh yeah, he took $500 and invested in Apple, and now he's worth $20 million. That mostly doesn't happen. Those are anomalies.
Well, also too, that's a good point to bring up too, because Warren Buffett, he started investing when he was a kid. You know what I mean? It was the compound effect.
Right.
So it took years before he actually became a millionaire and a billionaire. It wasn't like, and 3 years later he became a millionaire. It's like, no.
Right.
He was very conservative. He invested, and it compounded. It became more and more and more. So that's the reality of it.
Yeah, and then that advisor is also going to help you understand your options and, what you could or should be investing in, depending upon your risk tolerance.
Exactly.
Overall, your long-term and short-term financial goals. Some of the things I know, I used to be a licensed stockbroker, so this is kind of how.
You used to work on Wall Street, huh?
No.
Huh?
No.
Nothing like that?
No. I never got to meet Gordon Gekko.
You didn't meet Gordon Gekko? Okay.
No. But yeah, those are the things that you want to consider as far as your investment portfolio. when you decide to have one. So your first time out, definitely, get some professional help.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be pulling up at the blackjack table for the first time in Vegas and you've never played before.
Right. Yeah, because you got to make sure you get your hand signals right too. You know what I mean? It's like, what's that mean? Or this. It's like, oh, hit. No, that's not what I meant. Sorry there.
Well, nothing angers people more. I can tell you, nothing angers people more than when you're at the blackjack table when you're playing with people who don't know when to hit or pass or,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
When to split. It's just a pet peeve of all of us blackjack players. So, yeah, you definitely want to have some professional help when you decide to step out there on your own.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't expect us to talk about investing in stocks and everything, but hey, just kind of natural segue.
Hey, we just go where the conversation takes us, right?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Because I want everyone to know that, obviously, Wes and I do talk about real estate, but we talk about other stuff too. I mean, because like I said, we invest, whether, real estate, stocks, bonds. We also, read a lot of books, business development, and so forth. So, I definitely want you guys to know that, here, we're providing information to help you guys make informed decisions. And like I said, we're going to have a financial advisor come on probably the next 3 weeks or so. Well, obviously, I'll definitely make sure to let everyone know the exact date that we're coming on, but we definitely want to do more of that this year too. You know what I mean? Like have different professionals come and speak and provide information, because at the end of the day, we want to help you guys. You know what I mean? We want to help you guys make informed decisions, but also we want to help you guys achieve the lifestyle that you guys deserve. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what we're going to do, and I'm excited about having a financial advisor come, and speak to everyone, and definitely provide some good information and good knowledge. So, yeah.
Yeah, and as always, if there's anything in particular that you guys want to talk about, you want more information on, and I particularly don't care. Doesn't have to be financially related. We can talk about the best flowers to plant in your garden, to increase your sales price value or whatever.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to know that one. What's the best flowers? We need to plant.
Hey, it's all relevant. It's all relevant.
Yeah, well, we love you too. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So if you guys have any other questions, we'll stay on for a few more minutes, see if anyone else has any other questions. So, yeah. So what do you guys think about the plant? Plant's it's part of the team now. So, we're like family. We just have that instant bond.
Makes it look more, natural. Yeah. Makes us more approachable, I think.
With the plant? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you just always got to have a good plant in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, man, that's funny.
Yeah, it just de-escalates the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. So what do you got planned this weekend?
I'm probably going to go buy some open houses.
Okay.
Yeah, see what's out there.
Nice.
I do that often. I want to see, how many people are showing up to the open houses, and I also like to see what's available on the market in that particular area, because as a loan officer, one of the first questions I ask people, I kind of ask them, I want to know, are you flexible on property? What type of property do you want? And, where is your pain tolerance
right, exactly.
on your payment?
Exactly.
And I need to know those things, because sometimes I just have to break hearts right away. So sometimes I'll have people that are like, hey, yeah, we want to, we don't want to payment more than $1,600. And I'm like, well, you're not getting anything. Unless you have, if you're putting down like a normal down payment, say 3 to 5%, you're trying to buy something in Orange that's going to yield a $1,600 mortgage payment.
They have to.
No, you're going to have to expand the search. Or, we want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Okay, what do you want? What do you think your price range is going to be? Oh, like $300,000 in what city? Orange, Tustin. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, that's a good question, Nini. So she's asking, as a first-time buyer, what would be my first move? Communicate with my bank or go straight to the real estate person? I'll let you answer that.
The answer is you want to deal with your lender, bank, whoever you're going to use that's going to finance you. You want to deal with them first, because the first thing you need to know is where you stand as far as qualifying for a loan and qualifying within the guidelines of whatever program you're choosing to use. And I understand everybody wants to talk to Kier first. He's a cool guy. He's a fun guy. And he gets to handle the fun part of the process, because you get to go out and look at properties and, oh, my God, they have a kitchen, and I love that, and I can put my furniture there, and you're imagining color palettes and things like that. But the reality is you need to know where you stand on paper, because in this market, should you find something that you really love and you tell Kier to submit an offer for you, guess what's going to happen? The listing agent is going to say, okay, I want to see the pre-approval letter. Mm-hmm. I want to see the DU results. Mm-hmm. I want to see their proof of funds. There's a lot of information that they're going to want to see in order to know that you can even qualify to buy that home. Mm-hmm. So it's easier to just deal with that first. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest reasons people avoid trying to, speak with me is because for me, it's like going to the doctors and waiting to get your test results, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people are intimidated and they're scared because they have like it in their imagination that, we're going to run credit and go through the pre-approval process, and then we're going to pull out their application and pull out this huge stamp that says denied and just stamp it and then start laughing at you. And that's not what happens. So as I tell people when I initially speak to them and they start the pre-approval process, at the end of this process, we're going to have either one or two responses. Usually they think the responses are going to be yes and no. Mm-hmm. No. One response is going to be yes, like yes, you qualify. Here's what you qualify for. Here's how it's going to go down. Let's talk to your realtor. Let's work on this. The second answer is not the no that people think it's going to be. The second answer is really not yet. But it's not just not yet. It's not yet. But here's what we need to do to move you to a yes. Okay, so there should be a game plan at that point. Mm-hmm. And I'll be the first one to tell you there are some loan officers and lenders out there that all they want to do is give yes or no's. And if we can't finance you right now and you can't qualify right now, here's why. Go figure it out. Come back to me when you figure it out. Mm-hmm. That's not what I do. That's not what the good ones do. So if there's some issue that you're having, we're going to provide you with solutions and help you move toward, enacting those solutions so that you can eventually purchase a home, right? Because here's the thing. Whatever issue you have, there's really only three areas that you need to concern yourself with to qualify for a loan. You have your income, you have your assets, and you have your credit situation, right?
Right.
So whatever issue you have, there's a solution for that issue. We just need to find that solution. Some solutions take longer than others, but that's really what we need to do. We just need to find, a solution to that particular problem. Once we solve that problem, then we're now on the yes side of the equation, right? So it would be one thing where if you went to qualify for a loan and you weren't at least 7 feet tall, you couldn't get a loan. Because then if that's the case, anybody who's not 7 feet tall, there's nothing you can do about that. But that's not the case. Mm-hmm. You can improve your credit. You can save more money. You can use a down payment assistance program to help you with the assets part of the equation.
Right.
And if there's an income situation you're having, we can either pay off some of your debt to help you with your debt-to-income ratio. Maybe you get a co-signer to add their income to the equation. Whatever issue you have, there's a solution for it. We just need to find it. And so you're better off knowing ahead of time and as soon as possible where you stand. If you want to buy a home a year from now, mm-hmm. you should get pre-approved now, right?
Right.
Because there are things that may be part of your situation that you're going to have a problem with that we can start working on today and make sure that a year from now you're ready to go. But if you wait for a year from now to come talk to me and you think you're going to go buy a house a month later, I might have to tell you, hey, you're a year away from this. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
As I always say, going through the pre-approval process is like going on a diet. A year from now, you're going to wish you started a year earlier.
Oh, man. Testify. I love it, man. I love when you provide this information. And like I said, you break it down in layman terms so everyone understands what you said. I love that. Now, you need to ask another question. Should the loan include my realtor's fees? Is that the smart way to go? Now I ask you this question.
Please do.
As a realtor representing the buyer, I actually get paid from the seller. So the seller actually pays me. So once a property is before a property is put on the market, as a realtor, what we do is we have what's called a listing presentation. So on the listing presentation, there's a document. It's called a residential listing agreement. And on that document, it actually spells out what the fees are going to be that the seller agrees to pay. So typically, you'll see me like 2.5% on the buying side, maybe 2.5% on the selling side, or 3.3, or 2.2, or 2.5, whatever. So it's the seller that agrees to pay the selling agent's fee, or the listing agent's fee, the agent that's actually put on the market to sell, and then also agreeing to pay the buyer's agent, the agent that represents the buyer. So you don't have to worry about calculating the realtor fees in your loan. My fee as a realtor, being the buyer's agent, is paid to the seller. So I'm free for you. You don't pay me. The seller pays me, so you don't have to worry about that.
Great question.
Yes. Hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions and make sure to provide you as much information as we can so you can make informed decisions.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Well, we appreciate it. We definitely enjoy what we do. So, if we didn't do it, we wouldn't have lasted this long.
Right.
Because we've been doing this since the last week of last year, right? 2017? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been going on strong. Every Friday we come to you guys at noon, dropping great information so you guys can make informed decisions. So something we definitely enjoy. So, yeah. So, now if you guys have any other questions, you can definitely contact us. Our contact information is in the post. And as always, I'm going to keep this video up. And I make sure to tag you, Wes, because I always forget to tag you. I'm like, damn it, man, I forget to tag him. Yeah, so I tagged you, Wes, on there, so you'll see it on your feed as well. But it has all the contact information on there, so you're free to give us a call. You can text us. You can direct message us, whatever way you want to contact us, you can. We're always here to answer your questions. And like I said, the next few weeks, we're going to have a financial advisor here, and they're going to explain, what they do for their clients, how they help them with saving money for retirement, and all the other utilities and sources and all the other things that they do. Because financial advisors do a lot. They don't just have you save for retirement. They also, help you diversify your portfolio and all this other stuff. So yeah. I'll let them talk about that information because I'm not a financial advisor, but I know they do a lot of stuff. Yeah, so there's no more questions. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We appreciate you. Likes, comments, shares, we appreciate that as well. And as I stated, if you guys have any questions or confirmation is here. And we will see you guys next Friday. Have a great weekend. If you're in Orange County, it's supposed to stay no rain this weekend, so hopefully you're good. But if you are in LA, I think it's supposed to be raining like this whole weekend or something, right? So there's a storm. So make sure you guys are driving safe out there and you guys are being safe, like I said, and be careful and drive safe and all that kind of stuff. So I will let Wes end with his favorite saying, as always.
Be assertive and be proactive. Have a great weekend.
All right. Have a great weekend.